On Wednesday's stream, if you weren't listening, here's what we talked about: booting traitors out of office. Specifically because they violated rules when they didn't show up to work, when they didn't do their jobs. I want to talk to you about a phrase that you might have heard. This phrase has become famous. It's become famous due to the people that said it and the importance it had in their movement. The phrase is accuse others of that which you are guilty. If you find it difficult to remember that phrase, I've come up with a very unhelpful acronym for you. The reason for WYCD is so authoritarians don't have to argue whether their behavior is right, because they can just say the other side is the same. In order to sell that lie, they tell more lies about how dangerous the other side is. So let's look at some recent developments with Ron DeSantis, compare it to what we were talking about on Wednesday, and really make clear what it is we're dealing with. First up, let's look at an article from People magazine. Actually, no. Let's talk about Wednesday's stream. On Wednesday's stream, we talked about the folks that got booted. Oregon lawmakers got tossed out of office, and this happened because they didn't show up. They were using their absences to try to hold up legislation. In other words, they were trying to take more power than the people gave them. Well, they violated a rule that was put in place for just such behavior, because they accumulated more than 10 unexcused absences. And I applauded that. Now let's contrast what happened there with Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis just gave the boot to his state, Florida's only, to my knowledge, only black prosecutor. Excuse me, state attorney. Only black female state attorney. Let's have a look. Here it is. Ron DeSantis suspends Florida's only black female state attorney in radical move, and local sheriff mocks her. Ron DeSantis suspended another. Bear in mind, he has suspended other state attorneys. Democratically elected Florida state attorney on Tuesday in an extreme move that critics are calling politically motivated. Monique Worrell was Florida's only black female state attorney until DeSantis announced her suspension for what he claimed was neglect of duty. DeSantis, who is currently running for president in 2024, criticized Worrell for being too lenient on criminals. He has specifically called out her failure to charge a teenager accused of shooting and killing a 9-year-old girl and 2 others in a gang-related incident in 2022. Worrell has said that witnesses in the case gave disjointed testimony and could not identify the suspect in a photo lineup, noting that the gunman was wearing a mask at the time of the incident. In announcing the suspension, DeSantis held a press conference where he was joined by 2 local sheriffs, both of which were neither of which, CNN notes, serves a county that overlaps with Worrell's jurisdiction. We don't need to read anymore. This is not relevant. This is not Ron DeSantis is not terribly complicated. He is looking for excuses. He is looking for excuses to throw out people that aren't as racist as he is, that won't support his racist ideology, that won't back up his authoritarian tendencies. Notice that he does not give a shit whether there is enough evidence to prove the case in court. Notice that he does not invite the sheriff that might have been involved in some way in the investigation over. Nope. He thinks so little of the people that support him that he assumes, and apparently correctly, you better redeem yourself, Florida, assumes that it's enough just to have people wearing badges near him. See, this helps us to view what the right is, what the right wing in the United States currently is. This is a perfect example of what is going on. Because Ron DeSantis is accomplishing exactly what Himmler would have wanted. He's accusing others of that of which his own side is guilty. He knows damn well that his people in office will only work towards a political agenda. He knows that they have no sense of duty to their people. The pretty heartbreaking thing here is that people don't seem to really understand which side is telling the truth. Because the way it looks now, if you're only scrolling through the headlines, the way it looks now is that both parties are accusing the other of doing similar sounding things, and they're taking similar looking actions. It's incredibly dangerous. We need to be crystal clear about what's what. It is to a larger point that I've been making. We can no longer coexist. These ideologies cannot coexist. What are the ideologies we're talking about? Well, it's the same reason I've said that conservatives, genuine conservatives, are going to start becoming Democrats. The ideologies are authoritarianism, and I mislabeled, frankly, the title of the stream. It really is. It's authoritarianism versus democracy. I suppose you could have a democratically elected, in fact, we have had a democratically elected authoritarian, but, I mean, it's ultra-authoritarianism. It's a dictatorship versus democracy. In an authoritarian's mind, in their operating kit, in their class build, the law is just the set of pre-written excuses that you point to take an action. It has nothing to do with whether or not you actually are going to take an action. In an authoritarian's mind, you decide what you want to do as the Führer, and then you tell your underlings, go point to the laws, which explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. Interpret whatever you need to, however you need to. Put something together for the press that makes what I'm doing sound like it is it's a reaction to what the laws are, as opposed to the laws having to bend to fit my narrative. In a democracy, we vote representatives to make laws which are taken seriously. And in an authoritarian dictatorship, the people do not have power. And in a democracy, the people have power. And the worst filth of our country is trying to hold on to power by making enough gullible Americans as dumb and vile as they are. And they have been very successful. They've made a lot of you awfully irredeemable. Except for one thing. The con man is responsible for the con. Because the conned are also the victims. Pretty unsympathetic victims. But if we're being serious, which we have no choice but to be in these times, we have to label them as what they are. They're the victims. Let's look at the behavior of these voting blocks real quick. Have a look. First of all, let me pull up what I was talking about yesterday. Had a video called Oregon Lawmakers Tossed Out. I'm going to replay a little, just a little, of your old pal Jake. One hopes. Haha. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be real easy to do the transition. All right. Check this out. Here's what we were talking about Wednesday. Look at how much this fits. Folks, this is what happens after, I would say, 2 elections with the blinders off. Neat. Let's get to the article. Oregon lawmakers who participated in 2023 legislative walkout officially banned from re-election. Lawmakers who participated in the legislative walkout this year will not be able to file to run for re-election in 2024. Secretary of State LaVon Griffin Vlad, LaVon Griffin Vlade announced Tuesday. 10 lawmakers accumulated more than 10 unexcused absences during the 2023 legislative session, triggering for the first time the voter-approved Measure 113. The measure passed in November, following several years of frustration. All we needed. That one line. It's all we needed. Do you note the difference? In Florida, Ron DeSantis, making it up as he goes, decides he's going to pick a case, just some rando case. And he is going to say, I'll use that to get rid of someone that doesn't support me. I'll use that to get rid of a black woman. I'll use that to get rid of a lawful person who's doing their job appropriately. I'll use it as an excuse. Versus Democrats in Oregon actually using the law as it was written. So there's a difference in tactics. Why on earth? Why on earth are we still dealing with this? Why is Ron DeSantis right now, on a Friday, God help me, in office after he attempted that? Why is there not an immediate recall taking place in Florida? Why is that not the breaking news that I'm covering? All right, I'll show you. I'll show you. Because we dragged our feet, let me say, on actually taking this seriously. And after a judge told him not to tamper with the case, the leader of this whole caper, he said this.
How can my corrupt political opponent, crooked Joe Biden, put me on trial during an election campaign that I'm winning by a lot, but forcing me nevertheless to spend time and money away from the campaign trail in order to fight bogus, made-up accusations and charges. That's what they're doing. I'm sorry, I won't be able to go to Iowa today. I won't be able to go to New Hampshire today because I'm sitting in a courtroom on bullshit because his attorney general charged me with something. Terrible.
You hear them chanting? Let's see how he reacts. And then he says, thank you. Why isn't he arrested today? Today, in handcuffs. Today. For that speech? Well, let's ask, are there consequences? If nobody is following this, all that, or rather, if the vast majority of people are not following this closely and they've only seen the headlines, Donald Trump essentially says, this case, when I tried that coup, when I tried an authoritarian move, when I tried to take over the government and toss out the will of the people, this case is nonsense. Case in point, I'm going to get up and I'm going to tell a whole crowd of people it's nonsense and nothing's going to happen. And that's what happened. Nothing. What does that lead to, do you reckon? I have a theory. Crazy theory, I know, but it's almost as though if you get up in front of a crowd and you tell lots and lots of people that that everything the other side has said is made up, they'll believe it. Let's have a look. Maybe start making scapegoats out of folks. Here's the post from the guy that got killed by the FBI. Perhaps Utah, he says, will become famous this week as the place a sniper took out Biden, the Marxist. I mean, look, couple of corrections. Biden is not a Marxist. And that guy's not a sniper. He's the occupant of a unmarked grave, I imagine. In my dream, I see Joe Biden's body in a dark corner of a D.C. parking garage with his head severed and lying in a huge puddle of blood. Hurrah! I hear Biden is coming to Utah, digging out my old ghillie suit and cleaning the dust off the M24 sniper rifle. Welcome, buffoon-in-chief. You see, it sounds like he might have had a military background, but as a traitor to his country, I'm sure the military disowns this punk. Corpse and all. Hey, FBI, you still monitoring my social media? Checking so I can be sure to have a loaded gun handy in case you drop by again. They did drop by, and he did have a loaded gun handy. Now he's dead, and I have zero sympathy for him. What did I say? Let's not forget who's who here. He is a victim of Donald Trump. Donald Trump got that guy killed. He might have got that guy killed with a speech just like the one you heard. Ron DeSantis is just the logical conclusion to where this is all going. And I'm delighted. I don't retract word one about my joy that a bunch of traitors in Oregon were thrown out. They should have been. I'm glad they were. I encourage us to do more. I believe what you are seeing is a way too delayed reaction by people that believe in democracy to get rid of people that don't. And I'll tell you, it's too close to even for my comfort right now. But we definitely have two factions in the country currently who have realized they cannot coexist. People that believe in democracy and people that do not. My advice to you, my only advice to you, support the people that believe in democracy. I despise Liz Cheney, but she believes in democracy. She has my begrudging support. I don't like Joe Biden all that much, but he believes in democracy. He has my annoyed support. These are the conversations we're having these days. One thing we cannot do, however, is the same mistake we made in Reconstruction and every era since then, which is letting up when we're close enough to winning that the other side doesn't want to fight anymore. Nope. Anyone involved in January 6th, prison. There's no negotiation here. Prison. And out of office for life. Every single J6 traitor banned from office for life under the third section of the 14th Amendment. They are traitors and must be treated as such. I recommend you write your senator, you write your Congress folks. Encourage them. I mean, House and Senate. Fuck it. Write them. Tell them it's this. This is what it should have been from the jump. This is what it should have always been. America can only be run by people that believe that they answer to the citizens of the United States. It's the only way we continue as a functioning country. Make it crystal clear. Talk to your representatives.